Tonight on KGW News.
The hell is going on over here?
A neighbor's view of the standoff with a man wielding a machete. Also tonight,
It had to get as bad as it was before we had to take action.
the local police chief accused of sending pornographic messages, faking records, and retaliating against city leaders. Plus, a fiery case of road rage leaves a driver dodging fireworks. And why the Waterfront Blues Festival is about to shrink this summer. Then later,
Athlete that I was when I was younger, I couldn't have dreamt of a dream of this.
as we show you the first of its kind training facility that'll springboard 2 women's pro sports franchises into the future. Good evening, everyone. David Mulco with you on this Thursday. We want to get right to a weather impact alert as cold weather overnight could make for some icy spots in the morning. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Matt Savino to break down those temperatures for us. Matt?
Hey, David, thanks very much. Outside right now in Portland, it's 37 degrees, so not exactly bone-chilling cold. Down in Salem, it's about the same. We look around, though. Some places are down to about 30, like Hillsborough at 30, Happy Valley's at 30, Boring's at 32. And we have a generally clear sky right now, which means temperatures will fall even more overnight tonight, as they typically do. However, we're only running a degree or 2 colder than we were at this time last night, and last night we only dropped to 35. The other thing that's going on with this is the east wind has yet to relent. Now, most of the area has little to no wind at all, but the areas that do have wind, when you combine that east wind like Corbett, Crown Point, Troutdale, combine that wind with the temperatures that we have, then what we call the apparent temperature can drop down below 25 degrees, which is the threshold for a cold weather advisory, which is what the Weather Service has issued. So we're calling it a weather impact alert in the morning. Don't do that. There could be some frosty spots on some of the walkways and roads out there as temperatures drop on down into the 20s, and combined with the wind chill may drop as low as about 25. We're also tracking the potential for rain and snow showers on Saturday morning. More on that later. David?
All right, thanks, Matt. We'll see you in a few here. We are learning more at 11 about serious allegations against the former St. Helens police chief, with a new report accusing him of everything from a hostile work environment to blackmail, even pornographic messages and faked police records. Alma McCarty spent the night combing through that investigation. Alma?
Yeah, David, that report from a third party contains a long list of grievances. We spoke with the city administrator today, who said it's the scope of the allegations that stands out the most.
Yeah, it's the totality of it. There's so much, and on a personal level, for me, I felt like I should have known sooner, should have done something sooner.
That's John Walsh, St. Helens City Administrator, speaking about a newly released report, more than 100 pages long, about former police chief Brian Greenway.
We're at a place where there's a breach of trust with our community leaders here, and that we had employees that had been experiencing misconduct. That misconduct was not being reported.
But around the time the city began receiving reports of alleged misconduct, Greenway was placed on paid, non-disciplinary administrative leave. 10 days prior, KGW spoke with Greenway about his decision to no longer staff officers 24 hours a day. At the time, he said this was due to a failed bond measure, and that it was getting harder to find qualified candidates.
The magic number we need is 14 patrol officers to be able to continue 24-hour coverage.
However, as alleged in the new report, a lieutenant told investigators Greenway openly voiced that he hoped the department wouldn't get candidates during open hiring, and hoped the city would, quote, feel it. And that's just one example of a series of allegations of unprofessional and inappropriate conduct.
I've had suspicions, but we had an employee finally come forward and make a formal complaint.
After several interviews, the author of the report, a retired police chief himself, came to 2 conclusions. First, he found extensive issues with Greenway's treatment of employees and department culture. And second, with Greenway's apparent efforts to undermine city leaders and his involvement with the police union. The report says he falsified a fitness report for an officer so that the officer could get a raise, a felony crime according to investigators. He's also accused of sharing pornographic texts, yelling at someone in custody that he'd kick their teeth in, and making an officer cry in front of coworkers. Greenway retired mid-January, the city said, in lieu of responding to the investigation.
I'll say that it's been a really long and difficult year, and I hope that it's an opportunity to grow and do better and refine our policies, do a better job.
Okay, Alma, so the former chief retired rather than answer the investigators' questions. Has he said anything about the long list of allegations?
Well, David, we reached out to the lawyer representing Greenway, but we haven't heard back, though Greenway told the Oregonian that it's all a, quote, fishing expedition by the city to generate complaints against him because he, quote, pushed for an investigation of potential misuse of city funds. David, back to you.
Thanks, Alma. Appreciate your reporting on this tonight. Also in St. Helens, a choir teacher accused of sexual abuse has officially been fired. Eric Stearns faces 18 charges of sex abuse involving 12 victims and was fired during last night's school board meeting. This comes as Stearns' attorney pushes for a new judge. Stearns said he'll stay in jail until that happens. Stearns and retired teacher Mark Collins were both arrested in November as part of an investigation into sex abuse at St. Helens High. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, we learned today a former teacher in the Washington County town of Banks has been arrested again and faces new charges of sexual abuse. Wyman Smith was first arrested last month and accused of having sexual contact with a student on campus. Since then, investigators say nearly 20 people came forward with allegations of abuse dating back almost 25 years. Smith also worked as a teacher in Astoria in the early 2000s. Investigators believe there are likely more victims. The man accused of threatening people with a machete shutting down part of Old Town last night refused to show up to court today. 44-year-old Sonny Moan faces several charges, including unlawful use of a weapon, menacing, and criminal mischief. Neighbors gave us a look at the response they saw out their windows. Dozens of police around an apartment complex as negotiators tried for 4 hours to get Moan to put down the machete. He eventually surrendered, they say, peacefully. Deputies say they will bring him from the jail to court themselves tomorrow. And the union representing dozens of doctors at Providence St. Vincent are voting right now on a tentative agreement with the hospital. The new deal includes reforming staffing models and improving patient care and safety standards, as well as raises and more sick time. The specific doctors, known as hospitalists, have until 4 tomorrow to approve the contract. But even if they do, doctors we talked to today said they wouldn't stop striking unless thousands of nurses also approve their contract. The nurses' vote will continue through Saturday. In national headlines, the Trump administration has started targeting sanctuary cities, and it's taking both leaders in Chicago and state officials in Illinois to court. The new lawsuit claims those officials and their policies are obstructing federal authorities from enforcing immigration laws. Reporters are Tom Homan adding that the administration is going to hold sanctuary cities, of which Portland is one, accountable.
They don't want a predator in their neighborhood, released back in the community. So, we're going to hold sanctuary cities accountable. We're going to take them on and we'll take them to court.
Trump sparred with Chicago over the same issues during his first administration. In a statement, the mayor there said the Windy City will continue to protect working people and, quote, defend against attacks on our long-standing values. It turns out Oregon was the first sanctuary state in the country. That essentially means local law enforcement don't help federal officials or don't go out of their way when it comes to immigration matters. And the state Justice Department just updated its so-called sanctuary toolkit. You see it here. It's on the civil rights section of the Oregon DOJ website. It includes videos on knowing your rights when it comes to interacting with ICE. You know what, speaking of the president's policies, the NCAA has changed its participation rules surrounding transgender athletes. It'll now limit competition in women's sports to athletes who are assigned female at birth. This comes a day after the president signed an executive order intended to ban transgender athletes from participating in girls' and women's sports by threatening to pull federal funding from schools that do not comply. The new NCAA policy is effective immediately and applies to all college athletes. Okay, let's stick with sports now and talk about the pros and some big news for the Thorns and Portland's new WNBA franchise, because Catherine Cook today, the owners of both teams, announced a new state-of-the-art joint practice and training center.
And David, when you see the renderings, it becomes clear this place is going to be impressive and unique. Two teams, same owner, same goals, creating synergy among female athletes and elevating their performance.
Today's a good day because I don't have to keep a secret anymore. I get to be like, this is why I'm so happy.
Karina LeBlanc is bursting at the seams over this, a sort of dream sequence of renderings for what's to come. A new 12-acre performance center in Hillsborough for the Portland Thorns and Portland's new WNBA team. Good thing this dream is real.
I honestly think I will be shedding a tear when I walk through those doors because, you know, the athlete that I was when I was younger, I couldn't have dreamt of a dream of this, right?
LeBlanc is Executive Vice President of Strategic Growth for Raj Sports, the company that owns both Portland teams. She's the Thorns' former GM and spent 15 years as a pro goalkeeper. She knows what a place like this will mean to the team, one that's spent most of its existence scrapping for practice space.
Our current athletes, they're going to be walking to a building that they feel like they belong. They've been seen and heard.
The $150 million facility will repurpose an existing office complex previously owned by Nike. It's near Evergreen Parkway, about a half-mile from Cornelius Pass. It'll feature 2 full-size soccer pitches, 2 full-size basketball courts, a 63,000-square-foot training facility, and a dining room, complete with a full-time chef and nutritionist.
They're going to get to break bread and eat every day with the WNBA and the NWSL players.
While the WNBA team has yet to be named, LeBlanc says more than 8,000 fans have already paid season ticket deposits. The kind of hype for women's sports that this facility aims to match.
Every athlete is just excited to have a home.
Yeah, pretty exciting, and the renderings are so beautiful. When is opening day?
Well, they say hopefully by this time next year, just in time for the new team's first season. Hopefully we'll know the name by then.
I'm still voting for Portland Cascades.
Oh, you heard it here.
But I don't get a say, right? Thanks, Catherine.
Got it.
Straight ahead at 11.